Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshady6 and this is Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Duel. Let's go fight some more antagonists of the show. Coming up is the Mercurius, piloted by Lieutenant Noin of the Oz Army. This mobile suit is pretty difficult to fight for me. It's got a very long melee range and also is very quick in movement. So fighting this thing in open combat is very tough and will usually have you at a disadvantage. So what I do is I do something that goes against any fighting game logic, hiding in a corner and picking it off from a distance. Usually that works well against the Mercurius, to some degree at least. Right now it completely annihilated me. But no matter, this is what you should do usually. Now the character that is piloting the Mercurius, Lieutenant Noin, it's actually interesting that we're fighting her with Wu Fei because they're kind of rivals in the show. The thing is, early on in the series, Wu Fei completely annihilated her entire squadron, also defeated her in combat and said that she was weak and that women shouldn't fight. Now, before I said that Wu Fei is my favorite character, you may be thinking I'm a real jerk for saying that when I sympathize with such a rude, discriminatory pig. But let me explain. Wu Fei you can't really take seriously. He is kind of a walking cliché. He's always going on about being strong, that only the strong should fight. And yeah, he's a stereotypical Chinese warrior guy. Just the kind of dude who you chuckle behind his back. It's unintentionally funny, that's all you can say about it. But don't get me wrong, Wu Fei is not a terribly written character. He's actually really deep because his whole attitude comes from a certain trauma that he had. He was once married and his wife Meran died in combat, so ever since then he's taken on this very stern attitude about fighting and all. Oh, Nataku. Now, I mentioned that briefly before. Nataku is actually the deity of Meran. When she died, Wu Fei adopted this as his guiding spirit. Next up, we're fighting Lady Unen in the V8. Now, the V8 is a mobile suit that is specialized on range combat. It is almost as strong as the heavy arms in that regard, if not as strong. And that makes it so that the best thing to do against it is always put it under pressure, always close in if you can, and just not let it do its thing, because then it will do that. Best move against the V8 is probably an attack from dashing, so always close in when you can. It has a very annoying move that it used just now. When it jumps into the air and fires diagonally down, that is very hard to counter because it's not only a ranged attack but also an air defense. You know, in these fighting games you're always tempted to use jump attacks against your enemies, and that counters all jump attacks. Well, this was the first game over that we had. Had to happen at some point. Luckily you have infinite continues in this game, so it's only a matter of time until you will succeed. Unless you just constantly lose. If you're game over, you can always choose another Gundam, but we'll stick to Shenlong. Now about Lady Unen, she's a very interesting character because, well, she is kind of weird in a sense. Very strange lady. She is very loyal to her superior, Colonel Treze. And she is almost schizophrenic in a way, I have to say. Kind of terrifying even. Well, you look at her and you see she's has her hair all proper and she has these big glasses. She's a very proper military lady, very stern, also very cruel if she has to. However, at some point, Treze told her to be nicer to the people around her, and she completely changed because of that. She wore her hair longer, and she made speeches about peace and was all diplomatic. It was really terrifying, I have to admit. So that is the prime example for a lot of the silliness in Gundam Wing, where you just shake your head in disbelief when you think about it a little. Complete nut jobs make the perfect soldiers. There's no other way of saying that. If Gundam Wing told me one thing, it's that. Victory was really close, but I guess we have to hope for a good third round. It's not only Lady Unen, pretty much every character in the show has some kind of issue or some kind of trauma. Yeah, and most of them are teenagers as well, yeah. Something you don't quite see in real life. Looks like it might be close here. One thing that was very strange about the show, no, about the game here, is that Viate and Mercurius are piloted by Lady Unen 9. I don't think that ever happened in the show. Actually, most of the time the Viate and Mercurius were used as mobile dolls, pretty much unmanned suits controlled by an AI. Now, this AI was very strong. It was basically better than any human pilot, and it really gave the Gundam boys a lot of trouble because, well, all of a sudden their Gundams weren't all that good anymore. They were pretty much defeated by the normal mass-produced suits. However, after a while they found a solution for that, and this solution we're fighting right now. The Wing Zero Gundam. Now, before we have already fought the Wing Gundam. That one was pretty balanced all in all. However, this one is above average in everything. It's an improved version of the Wing Gundam, and it demonstrated just that by completely destroying us. Let's have another go. You know, this Gundam was pretty strong, but just being a strong machine wasn't actually its biggest asset. It was much more complicated than that. It was one of two Gundams that had the Zero System. The Zero System is a device that amplifies the pilot's mental capability, basically making him perfect in every situation. And I think the computer is just now using that Zero System because it defeated me without effort. And here we have Hero going on about his justice, yeah. Hero is also a little bit of a strange one. Basically not a normal kind of guy. Definitely not. But trying again. Now the Zero System sounds great and all, but it has a fatal flaw in a way. In the show, the Zero System really made the pilot fight very good, almost perfectly, but the thing was, it was very harsh on the psyche. Usually it made the pilots crazy in a matter of minutes. And yeah, that was a problem, but somehow Hiro got kind of used to it later on. I don't know why. Maybe because he was already that insane. Could be. Wouldn't be surprised. Now, as I've said before, there is another Gundam later on. And we're also going to see that Gundam that has a Zero System. Sooner than you think. Now, another strong thing about the Wing Zero is definitely its Buster Rifle. It was also very devastating in the show, and it's also a very strong super. However, here I interrupted it very skillfully. That really saved my hide, I have to admit. And we have another fight down, and we can move on to the final one. Oh, that was Wu Fei's iconic line, "You are weak, hero." And a woman. Really? No, of course not. So, here we have the final boss of the game, the Epyon Gundam. Now, don't let the purple color fool you. This thing is a beast. It is a very powerful final boss. And you know how it is with final bosses in fighting games? They cheat. Seriously, all the final bosses in fighting games cheat. No human can fight like that, and at least not consistently. The Epyon Gundam is a very strong fighter in almost all areas. And if you seek the open battle with it, it will completely destroy you in a matter of seconds. But saying that, you might be wondering, why did I win the first round so easily? Well, the Epyon Gundam has one fatal flaw. It is the only Gundam that does not have Vulcans. It cannot shoot you on range at all. It must always close in. So if you exploit this weakness like I am, finding it kind of like I did the Mercurius, you can have the upper edge. Unless it's like that and decides to cheat even more. It sometimes does that, but yeah, backing off and shooting is the best thing to do here, because you can't just stand up to the Epyon in melee, no matter what Gundam you use. The Epyon here is once again piloted by Zex. However, Hiro also piloted once in the series and traded it to Zex for the Wing Zero. For some reason, I don't know why he would do that, but show is strange sometimes. Now, the Epyon has this very annoying super that even if you block it, really recharges Epyon's energy, so that you can almost use it again. Oh hey, we've won. That's it. We've beaten the game. Now let's move on to the ending sequence. Here we have the Epyon kind of demolished. Not actually what happened like that in the show, I think. They didn't just beat the Epyon and that's how it ended. Nope, that's not how it ended. However, the game didn't really have much of a story in between fights, so I guess that can be excused. What really matters is that this game is about giant mechas beating the crap out of each other, and it does that really well. So thank you, Natsume, for this really nice game. It really doesn't have to hide behind the big titles at all, like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, the fighters of that time. It really is a very fun and impressive game. It's really just a shame that they didn't bring it over to Europe and North America, but you know how it is with these licensed games. Always has issues like that. And apart from that, it also was a late Super Nintendo title, so if they localized it, the N64 might have been out and it wouldn't have been lucrative in the end. We also didn't have the show at that time yet, I think. And yeah, that's it. This was Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Duel. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat of a filler let's play. I hope it was as sweet as it was short. I'm Gish86, and in my boundless cruelty I leave you with Relina. Bis bald!